In the previous chapter, Father J used pyramid power in his garden and Silva mind control to help train his new dog Chris. Then he went on in chapter 33 to recapture the vision that he and his siblings had seen many years before. So Father J decides to recreate what they saw by painting it on canvas, which turns out to be much harder than he thought it would be. So divine intervention once again steps in. To see how that turned out and catch up on the details, please go back and listen to the previous chapters. Now let's move on to the next adventure. Chapter 34. Following a Legend. My response? Go pick somebody else. In the middle 70s, I was elected to be on the assignment board for the Archdiocese. While serving on that committee, Our Lady of Sorrows Parish in Farmington, Michigan opened up since the pastor was being named bishop of another diocese in Chicago. Both he and the assignment board, with the approval of the cardinal, asked me to accept the position of pastor at Our Lady of Sorrows Parish. It was one of the wealthiest and largest of all parishes in the Archdiocese, and it was considered a great honor to be offered such a prestigious assignment. And I was guaranteed ample help. Somehow, instinctively, I knew that such a role was not in line with my destiny. I only hesitated for a few seconds and then replied, "Thank you all for the offer, but I'm afraid I will have to decline. As attractive as it is, I don't feel called to move in that direction." There was disappointment expressed since they expected me to jump at the opportunity. But I had to follow the intuitive dictates of my heart. I was simple and direct. Not long after that incident, in the spring of 1977, it was announced that the famous Father Kern, longtime pastor of Most Holy Trinity Church, was retiring on July 1st of the same year. He had become a legend. He was stationed at this core intercity parish for 34 years and with the reputation of defending people's rights and being a champion of the poor. Whether there was a demonstration against companies who treated workers badly, for example, the farm workers, or if one of the unions had a confrontation with management, or if there was a showdown with the city council over neighborhood projects, he was there, and outspoken with choice words. Yet he was respected by both management and the workforce. He was also well known for having an open-door policy at Most Holy Trinity Church. People without an appointment could come to the door asking for help, whether it was for lodging, food, money to turn the gas or electricity back on, or simply hoping for a kind word and a bit of counsel. Father Kern let it be known that he wanted the people that no one else wanted. He got them, lots of them. A poll was taken throughout the state of Michigan around 1975. A cross-section of people from every walk of life were invited to select, in their opinion, the person who exerted the most influence of good and had the greatest impact on progress in the state. Father Kern was number one, before the governor, the mayor of Detroit, and even before the cardinal, who was enjoying at that time his greatest popularity. I remember making a statement to Father Jim concerning the future of Holy Trinity Church. "I feel sorry for the poor fool who follows Father Kern as pastor of Holy Trinity." Little did I know who that poor fool was going to be. About a week later, I got a phone call from Bishop Gumbleton, an auxiliary bishop of the Archdiocese of Detroit. He stated that I was selected by the assignment board to follow Father Kern as pastor of Holy Trinity. I told him I was flattered, but I was happy right where I was. He said that I was also the choice of Cardinal Dearden and Father Kern himself. Priests usually apply for a parish that is open. The assignment board then calls in every applicant for an interview in order to decide who would be the best choice for that particular parish. There sometimes could be a half a dozen hopeful priests desiring the same position. In the case of Holy Trinity, however, they wanted to hand-pick the new pastor because of the extraordinary popularity of Father Kern. The Archdiocese was uncertain what would happen under such circumstances. Bishop Gumbleton emphasized the fact that everyone was in agreement that I was the right person for the job. He himself felt God was calling me to follow Father Kern. Allow me to draw a picture of what he was asking of me. In Pontiac, about 25 miles north of downtown Detroit, I had just completed the goals which the staff and I had put together. The parish was in excellent condition, whether seen from a financial, social, or spiritual point of view. It was a peaceful little town. There was some crime, but nothing compared to Detroit, which carried a local and national bad image. And Holy Trinity was located in the heart of the city, 6 blocks from downtown Detroit. The parish was one big Christian service program. The open-door policy kept the priest busy all day with people walking in for help. We are talking about hundreds of people each week, many thousands each year. It was unlike any other parish in the Archdiocese of Detroit. Besides, I was well aware that I would be surrendering the image of being a successful pastor in Pontiac to becoming a nobody in the inner city. Not that reputation was so important, but to follow a legend did nothing for one's self-image. Anyway, I was saying to the bishop, I never make an important decision without making a spiritual retreat. Then make one, he quickly replied. My favorite setting for a retreat was, and still is, Columbere, which is not far from Pontiac. It was a former Jesuit seminary, which closed because of a drastic drop in the number of vocations, but remained open for retreats and workshops. One wing of the huge building was also reserved as a rehabilitation center for employees of large companies who had substance abuse problems. I did make a week's retreat there in order to sort things out and see if I would receive some kind of sign from God as to my direction. I have to say, I had always received a message directly from divine guidance or by way of my guides. I was never left on my own except one time to make a final decision to become ordained to the priesthood. At Columbere, I meditated every day, prayed, and read portions of sacred scripture. Each day I also took time to walk through the fields or follow a path deep into the woods. Every day I waited for a sign. Nothing happened. I felt absolutely nothing for a whole week. When I returned to the rectory, I called the bishop. He thought I called to tell him what he expected to hear. It was quite the opposite. I told him I received no sign whatsoever to go to Most Holy Trinity, so that was my answer. I'll stay where I am. I presumed he would look for another priest to go there, but he completely caught me off guard. Make another retreat, he said with authority. Now, wait a minute, I exclaimed. I am not going to keep making retreats until I finally break down and give in. He assured me, you won't have to. Just make one more retreat. If after that retreat you still feel that you are not called to go to Holy Trinity, I will never bother you again to go there. I reluctantly agreed to make a second retreat. While on retreat, nothing happened on Monday or Tuesday. The very next day, however, I was walking through the fields behind the Columbere retreat house, and then it came. It was an all-encompassing feeling of divine presence. I was surrounded by a power with which I had become familiar. The communication was beyond words, but I knew exactly what was being said to me, that it was in my destiny to become pastor of Most Holy Trinity. I did not take kindly to that message. In fact, I fought it. Go pick someone else, I cried. Why are you choosing me? You're asking an awful lot from me. I tried to back out of this appointment. I yelled back, wept, gave every reason not to go there, and talked to God as if we were having a typical argument between a father and a son. I was so upset I even used small cuss words at that point. On the part of my divine visitor, however, the message remained the same. After a long period of struggle and expending a lot of energy, I finally gave in. I fell to my knees out in the field. My head was bent low, and I whispered the words. I said at my ordination to the priesthood, "Add some." Literally, it meant, I am here. To me, out in a field enveloped by Mother Nature and surrounded by the Lord who gave me life, it meant, I am here to do your will, O Lord. I finished my retreat. Each day it became noticeably clearer to me that God would never let me down. I was protected by God's love and God's will. I called the bishop and told him that I received the message loud and clear. I was now willing to accept the appointment as pastor of Holy Trinity. He was very happy to hear that, but he did not seem surprised. I told him, I am more surprised than you are. You must have an inside line. He said that he felt all along that it was my calling to go there. Life at Holy Trinity can best be described as taking one day at a time, changing to survival mode, and living in the continual expectation of the unexpected. Anything goes was an appropriate comment. It may sound impossible, but you had to give more than 100%, or you would be swept away by the abundance of activity and the unrelenting demands on your time and energy, and much more. As the saying goes, it will make you or break you. I worked very hard at Holy Trinity and had little time for myself. I had the ordinary responsibilities of a pastor of a parish, which was a full-time job in itself. Added to that, we were in continual financial trouble. The parish itself only produced enough income to stay open for about 3 weeks. That is a fact. The families did the best they could, and I was very proud of them, but it was not enough to support the church for any length of time. This was a far cry from what I had been accustomed to in my other assignments. Trinity's school stayed open only because it was subsidized by the CSA, Catholic Services Appeal, an archdiocesan fund established to assist schools and other institutions needing help. Besides facing the ordinary duties of a pastor, I fully realized that Trinity Parish, the full title is Most Holy Trinity, or often it is called Holy Trinity, or just plain Trinity, was noted for its outreach programs to the poor. When I arrived there in 1977, we had about 16,000 persons each year coming for help. That comes to over 1,000 per month. When I left there 11 years later, we averaged 30,000 to 35,000 persons knocking at our door every year. The social dimension of the services rendered at Trinity was not possible without a parish setting. It was absolutely necessary to keep the parish open. Fundraising was essential. Benefactors generally supported the programs, and many volunteers supplied the assistance needed. Every single day of the year, there were donations in the mail. There were also several fundraisers scheduled throughout the year. We tried not to have the same volunteers working on more than one fundraiser in the same year, since we had so many people ready to participate in any way possible. People truly loved helping other people when they see results. We were grateful to the television and newspaper reporters who did a wonderful job of presenting articles to the public describing our work. The media should be congratulated many times over. What was most impressive to the public was the knowledge that a very small percentage of their donations was needed for administrative costs, and without question, the majority of their contributions went directly into the hands of the poor. One of the most popular and exciting fundraisers was St. Patrick's Day. The attendance was overwhelming, regardless of the weather. The Irish and the non-Irish came out. The cardinal, the governor, the mayor, members of the judiciary, the attorneys, the medical doctors, the television and newspaper personalities, the politicians, the business people, the bagpipers, many priests to concelebrate, and families from every walk of life crammed into Holy Trinity Church. Extra chairs filled every space, and the last ones in were standing by the hundreds. It was a sight to see. Those in attendance were in great spirits. They came to have a good time while worshiping the Lord. They always proved to be very generous. Trinity began as an Irish parish in 1834, 3 years before Michigan became a state. It was the first English-speaking Catholic church in Detroit and the first electric lighting on Christmas of 1875, and became a temporary hospital when an epidemic broke out in 1834. From the very beginning, Trinity began outreach programs to the less fortunate, since the pastor at the time was also the city's administrator to the poor, a forerunner of the welfare program. Neil Shine, a very popular and well-known newspaper man, and as Irish as they come, composed the letter we sent out to benefactors each year announcing St. Patrick's Day. He was also known for his wit. Having a Lebanese pastor, yours truly, in charge of an Irish parish, he came up with a catchy title for me. I was the Lebanese leprechaun. I liked it, and so did the people. Each week, the doctors from Ford Hospital conducted the medical clinic located in the school building of Holy Trinity. They followed a schedule along with a few doctors and private practices to offer free medical services to the underprivileged. Those who came for medical assistance could not afford to go to a doctor. The Mother Cabrini Clinic, as it was called, made it possible for the doctors to come to them. After a full day's work at the hospital, these dedicated physicians demonstrated a true love and service to others, and their interest in caring for the health of the poor was nothing short of remarkable. Also, each week the attorneys ran the legal clinic in the rectory for those who could not afford legal help. They were champions of justice, protecting the rights of their clients and educating them in the various alternatives available to them. When it came to legal and medical problems, we all depend on the expertise of professional providers. Imagine the profound feeling of helplessness that plagued the poor who could not afford any professional help. Many of them had no income whatsoever, not even from the welfare programs. They were the ones often spoke of that fall through the cracks of society. Thank you for listening, and please join us every Sunday at 3 o'clock for our watch party as I premiere the next chapters of Father J's book.